How you gonna walk through this world? It's so easy to misstep. How are you gonna walk through the world? So easy to screw it up. You gotta rise like the sun does every day. Rise up, look above. The light feels something like love. Hello and welcome. I'm Shelley Leedahl, a multi-genre literary writer coming to you from Ladysmith on Canada's lovely Vancouver Island. When anyone's asked what my 12 books are about, I say they're about the human heart. You see, I'm kind of a fool for love, and if you are too, then you're in the right place. This is Something Like Love, an eclectic literary podcast that explores that wildest of animals, love, through various genres, via short stories, poetry, serializations of longer works, and personal essays. I'll pull back the blinds to reveal the lives and loves of those braving the high seas of human emotion. First up are 10 edgy short stories featuring teens learning the hard way, as we do, about familial, platonic, and romantic love, and learning to love themselves on the journey. There'll be something new to listen to every Wednesday. Do you write too? At the end of each episode, I include a springboard exercise for anyone who feels like doing a bit of their own writing. One day, in the future, there may be a forum for listeners to share their work. Step by step, people. Old dog, new tricks. Although voiced by me, a woman of a goodly age, the narrator of this next first-person story is an adolescent male. Let's call him Dylan. One of the things I love most about writing is the freedom to step, literally, into various shoes. Male, female, young, old, in between. I even have a story where the walls of a house have a voice. Right now, Dylan's world is in the spotlight. Here is the title story of this podcast series, Something Like Love. What's your earliest memory? Jessica asks. And my thoughts go spiraling backward, just like the clouds peeling across this end of summer sky. We're in the park, trying to stretch out these last few days before we hit high school and whatever horrors it may bring. Personally, I think I'm also trying to stretch out my childhood. I'm not sure I'm ready for a world that includes Freshie Week and even worse, polynomials. I can hear it now. I'll be sweating over math homework at the kitchen table, and maybe I'll let something slip in a quiet voice, something like, "I don't get this." Then whoosh, my father's long shadow will loom across the page. "What do you mean you don't get it? You're 14 years old. Haven't you learned anything?" He'll throw his arms open and his head back like a TV evangelist, though this man's not praising the Lord. His eyes are hard and gray as stones. "Dylan, your earliest memory?" Jess waves her hand in front of my face. "I was thinking," I tell her. She knows I'm a compulsive daydreamer. Okay, here it is, earliest memory. We once lived beside a really old brick school in a small town. It looked like a castle to me. I was 4. "Was that when you lived in Newfoundland?" she asks. "Nope, Ontario." Jessica leans forward, giving me her undivided attention. Even though she's an advanced student and I just barely made it in the regular program, she always treats me like her intellectual equal. She says she loves my stories, that I have gifts that mean more than 90s in science or English. I think I might be in love with her. I was hanging out at the school steps. Probably didn't have anything better to do. Maybe I was thinking about what Mum was making for lunch, or if the big kids would let me play hide-and-go-seek with them later. Whatevs. Then something caught my attention. It looked like a black ball at the bottom of the steps. I got closer, saw the leathery wings. It was a bat. Cool. Very cool. Or at least I thought so. It was dead, or mostly dead, so I cupped it in my hands and ran. I thought my father could fix it when he got home. From the hospital? Jessica moves closer, her face not far from mine. Her words are warm puffs of breath on my eyelashes. Yeah, the hospital. A golden lab deeks away from its owner and bounds over to sniff our feet. Hey, Pooch, I say, patting his heavy head. I've always wanted a dog, but any time I've brought it up, Mum mumbles about the mess and the responsibility, and my father breaks into a monologue about my allergies, which haven't acted up since I was 8. Their compromise? I have an ant farm, one of those wood and plexiglass deals which allow you to witness the fascinating sand-tunneling activities of ants. Oh, what fun! Dexter, get back here! A muscular guy in his 20s, baseball cap turned backwards, calls. Dexter doesn't budge. The guy jogs over and snaps Dexter back onto his leash. Sorry about that. He smiles at Jessica. Doesn't see me. I could be a ghost. Now Jessica's sitting with her track star legs crossed, bronze-tanned arms wrapped around her knees. She has grass in her long dreads, and even though we've been friends and neighbors for 3 years, I'm too shy to pick it out. Besides, I like it there. What happened when you brought the bat home, she asks. Well, that's where it got interesting. I slammed through the back door and yelled, Mom, come see this. What I didn't know was that Mum wasn't alone. My father was home from the hospital, and they had company, a visiting doctor and his wife from South Africa. They were having tea in the dining room with the Royal Albert china. Jessica squints. Her eyes are blue like winter light. Say, what? It's this fancy china that Mum's been collecting since before she and my father were married. I don't see the attraction myself. It's not the kind of stuff you can throw into the dishwasher. It breaks if you breathe on it. Anyway, there I am, storming onto the scene with this battered, half-dead bat, or night bird, as I used to call them, in my hands, and when my father sees it, he jerks back, knocks his chair over, which also upsets the coffee table, and about $350 worth of Royal Albert. Of course, it's worth considerably less when it's shattered into about a zillion pieces on the floor. Jessica groans. Get it out of here, Dad yelled. Now. His face got all pinched and red, very undoctor-like, and Mum grabbed me by the shoulders, apologizing to their guests as she steered me out. Later that night, I had to stand at the bathroom sink and soak my hands for an hour because dear old Dad insisted I never forget that bats are dirty. They carry rabies, he said. Damn you. Haven't you got an ounce of sense in there? Don't ever touch a bat again. Do you hear me? Never again. Wow, Jess says, quietly. And only then do I realize I've been shouting and stabbing the air near her head. My earliest memory is of jumping on my bed with my cousin. You definitely win. I didn't know it was a competition, I say. Life is a competition, she says, pulling me off the grass. Let's get on with it. We meander toward our neighborhood. I live in one of those prefab homes that's big and bright but has zero character. And Jessica's family has the right half of a low-income duplex, 3 doors down. Jess's dad used to weld the farm machinery plant north of the city, but he was laid off 8 months ago. When she told me her dad was getting pogey, I thought it was a disease or something. I looked it up in Dad's medical dictionary, but of course, it wasn't there. Mum told me it's money the government pays people who've been fired or laid off. All workers pay into it. She wrinkled her nose when she talked about it like it was a bad thing being on pogey. something that other people relied on, something miles beneath us. Jessica's mom, call me Sandy, works at a lottery ticket kiosk in the mall. My mom doesn't do 9 to 5, but she does keep herself busy. Some days she's like the Tasmanian devil of Bugs Bunny fame. She's organizing this or that, her phone's buzzing. People are constantly dropping off important papers. She barely has time to breathe. Of course she complains about it, wonders aloud why she's taken on so much, but it beats the alternative. The days she stays in bed with a blanket over the window and says, "I'm just a little tired. You don't mind fixing you and your dad something nutritious to eat, do you?" I call those days her bed days. This month, she's coordinating an anti-gambling rally. While Jessica's mother's hawking lottery tickets, Mom's writing letters to the editor on the evils of slot machines and casinos. The sun's begun its western slide into the horizon, and I feel the faintest touch of heat on my shoulders. My bony left shoulder is just a breath from Jessica's bare right one. Nice. It's one of those days you don't want to let go of. I wish I could bottle the feeling for future use. We hear the familiar clash of electric guitar and drums as we near Jessica's duplex. "Oh, Dad," she says, mostly to herself, but I know what lies behind the sigh. She's taken me to the basement, into the room with the dirty scrap of rug on the floor, the overflowing ashtrays, where the band plays. The band is her dad, who picks out tunes on a third-hand Fender Stratocaster with a red flame painted across it, and his buddy, Whip, another laid-off 40-year-old who believes that his drums and musical ability, I use the word ability only because I'm a generous cat, will eventually lead him to fame, fortune, and the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. Jess's dad is short, with a belly that spills over his rolled-up Wranglers. He sports a thin, dirty blonde ponytail, a look that went out with Jesus. Way not cool. Whip, a 6'4" rack of bones with a 1980s mullet, is dual-talented. He can also poke out a one-hand melody on his pawn-shop keyboard. The pair write and sing their own sad songs. "Have they had a gig yet?" I ask Jessica. She snorts and her hand flies to her face. "Does their buddy's I'm out of jail party count?" I laugh. Jessica laughs too. "They only play stages in their dreams," she says. "So, welcome to my nightmare?" She's being facetious. Her parents may be untraditional, but they are warm, good-natured people. It is a happy home. "No thanks," I say, wagging a thumb toward my house. "I've got my own disaster." The night before school starts, I'm stuffing new duotangs and pens into my backpack when Dad raps on the door. "Ready for the big day?" He's pulling out the chair at my computer desk. "I guess so." "Well, your mom and I hope you have a better year this year. You've got to apply yourself. If you don't understand something, talk to the teacher about it. Don't let it build and build until you're so far behind that..." I stop packing. I have this particular speech memorized. If I have to endure it even one more time, I might wing my new scissors in his direction or whack my computer with a baseball bat. "Dad, I know," but he doesn't stop. "We spent thousands of dollars on those tutors last year. Not that we resent it. We'd be more than willing to do it again. But I know you can succeed without them." He raps his knuckles lightly on my head. "Just use the old noodle." "I'll try," I say, and then he lurches toward me as if he's closing in for a hug. But something stops him, and he just gives my shoulder a little punch. "Your very best," he says, leaving the room. "That's all I'm asking." I roll up one of my long sleeves with almost surgical precision, then unzip my backpack. I take out my new school scissors and drag the sharpest end across my forearm. Blood oozes out in dots before it forms a line. I'm brushing my teeth with the tap running when the doorbell rings. "Jessica." Coming, I yell, spraying breath-freshening, tartar-reducing toothpaste into a weird constellation on the bathroom mirror. Honey, are you getting that? Mom asks. It's a bed day, I think. Or maybe just a slow start. She and Dad had a terrible row, one of her favorite euphemisms, late last night. It's for me, Mom. See you after school. Another scorcher. Amazing. Not even fully out the door yet, and I feel sweat prickling beneath my pits. Hey, Jess. Wow, new clothes, she says, appraising me. Pretty preppy. It's just a shirt. But it is new, and brand name, as are the running shoes. Plus, Mum insisted on a haircut. You've got to make a good impression on the teachers. Sit close to the front and look interested, she said last night as we waited for Mon Père to come home. Emergency appendectomy. He was late and super stressed. He was, as Mum says, in a mood. Jessica's wearing cutoffs, a tank top that shows off the flame tattoo on her bicep, and black army boots. Black fingernail polish, silver-studded leather around her wrist. I'm going to lose her. Soon. What I don't get, Jessica says as we wait at the bus stop, is why you're taking the bus. I mean, your mom could drive you and me to school. You could take a cab if you wanted, so why are you humbling yourself by taking the bus? I'm not humbling myself. Taking the bus is a perfectly normal thing to do, and I'm a perfectly normal guy. Look, I dig out my wallet. I even have a bus pass. Wow, Jessica says. That must have been, what, $30? She shows me her handful of coins. I was lucky to scrape this together. She grabs my arm and looks at the tail of the long red scratch that snuck out from beneath my sleeve. What's this? I scraped it, and before she can ask how, I add, on a nail. This thin lie passes for truth, and we get on the bus, taking the first available seat, the one right behind the driver. An old woman gets on behind us and taps my foot, which has strayed into the aisle, with her cane. The guy beside us is chewing gum like a cow working its cud, and something, somewhere, is rotting. Pleasant. Oh, the joys of public transportation, Jessica says, into my eyes. But I have a sliver of suspicion that she's embarrassed. Can't imagine why. The bus drops us off at our new home away from home, and I'm feeling mostly okay. It's just a building, right? Bricks and windows and hallways and classrooms. Teachers and books and strange things floating in formaldehyde. Anyway, they prepared us neophytes for this day. There was an orientation barbecue last June. We have maps. We know where we're supposed to go. My head knows all this, but my heart still splits, drops to my ankles and sloshes around there as we make our way through the boisterous crowd. Freshies! I spin to see a gang of buff football types charging toward us. One guy stabs his hands into my armpits and lifts me as if I'm weightless, a puppet, a marionette. My legs kick and everyone laughs like this is the most hilarious thing they've ever seen. Someone's got a phone out. Oh, great. Facebook. Instagram. Dignity shot to hell. Put him down, assholes, Jessica says firmly. And I don't know if it's her tough girl stance or her tattoo, the dreads, or the fact that she just might kick someone in the boys. But the ape sets me down as if I'm as fragile as an egg or an expensive teacup. They leave as they arrived, en masse. How did you do that? I ask, straining to hold my voice steady. They listened to you. It's a life skill, she says. And so begins our first day of high school. School is school. Not much different from elementary, except we have to change rooms for each class. They play rock music over the speakers, and the kids read the announcements, not the teachers. Sometimes couples make out by their lockers. You never saw that in elementary. And I'm careful not to stare. Oh yeah, and the assignments require more work, much more work. A month into school, I'm already 2 weeks behind. I don't have any classes with Jessica, but she meets me for lunch every day. I know she could spend the hour with any number of her eclectic new friends, jocks, punks, skaters, brains in the advanced program, but she sticks it out with me. Today we've got our backs up against the chain-link fence at the far end of the football field. A coach is leading the junior boys in a drill that looks painful. I don't get football, or basketball, or wrestling. Pretty much anything that requires sweating. Jessica crunches her lunch bag into a ball and tosses it at my chest. Okay, here's a new one. What's your best memory? I could say something corny like, I'm having it now, but I don't have the guts. Besides, maybe it's not a mutual thing. Maybe Jessica just wants to stay buddies, forever. I close my eyes and face the sun. What I see behind my eyelids is mostly red with black squiggly things running through it, like waves. It was in Newfoundland, I begin. I was 7 or 8. We lived in Corner Brook, but we were spending a few days at Gross Mourne National Park. A rare holiday. Usually my parents were too busy for holidays. Gross Mourne? Weird name, Jess says. Yeah, anyway, me and my parents were on this beach in a little town called Trout River. It was covered with stones of all different sizes and colors. We were collecting rocks and stuffing them in our pockets. We each wanted to find the best ones. See, life is a competition, Jess says. I guess. My father said we had to narrow it down to our 5 best rocks each, and then we'd have a show. A rock show? Yeah, a rock show, I say. So I picked through all my rocks and examined each one until I had my finalists. Some were smooth and some looked like they had acne. Some of them felt warm and others were cold and dead. 1 or 2 sparkled with little diamonds. They were black or white or red as anything. I couldn't believe there was so much there right out in the open. It was like stumbling onto a treasure that most people don't even know existed. They were all beautiful in their own way. You just had to look closely. That sounds like one of those old-fashioned moral of the story type things, Jess says. Then what? We laid our rocks out on a picnic table and took turns showing them. We even gave them names like Old Man Dying to Sing and Thunder at Night. Mum called one of hers Long Walk on Hot Sand. We oohed and awed over these dumb stones, none of them any bigger than you could hold in your hand. It was great. Jessica slides her hand through the grass toward mine. It's November now, and the river is chunking up with ice like cultures in a petri dish. We got our math tests back today, and my mark confirms that I must have been dropped on my head from an incredible height when I was a baby. How else to explain it? My father's a smart guy, Mum's no dolt, and then there's moi. I studied for 5 hours and got a whopping 38%. I just don't get it. I don't understand why we need math. If you're not going into nuclear physics and you can add, subtract, multiply, divide, and figure out sales tax, you shouldn't be put through this torture. Jess has tried to help, but I'm a lost flipping cause. My teacher, the one who knows my parents, is on the phone. I hear my father talking in a calm and sensible doctorish tone. Yes, it's certainly apparent that something must be done. Moonlight is spilling through my window. There's no snow yet, but the forecast calls for it. He's never been the sharpest knife in the drawer. The moon is beautiful, quiet, something to remember and keep. I slide the jackknife out from under my mattress and carve a crescent moon just above my knee. I think of the conversations Jessica and I have had about the times we are most afraid, the times we laughed the hardest. Think of the good things, she says, when we're alone and I'm too quiet. She puts her arms around me and there's nowhere to hide what she must see in my eyes. Dylan! Dad's shaken off the Mr. Nice Guy tone. Get out here. He pounds something, the table or the wall. Stupid prefab. If it's the wall, we'll be calling a drywaller again. Take it easy on him, Hal. Mum's crying and making the sound of someone trying to start a snowmobile. He's trying, you know. Get your ass out here now. Hal, don't hurt him, for God's sake. He's just a boy. Something smacks. Skin on skin. Mum stops making the snowmobile sound. I drag and pull my dresser over to block my bedroom door. I drop down in front of it and stretch my legs so they're braced against the end of my bed. The good things. Stones on the beach at Trout River. Old man laughing. Shiver me down. The dresser moves. I think of a time before shadows, before Mum had bed days, and I really was just a boy, surrounded by stones and something that felt like love. That was Something Like Love, written and read by me, Shelley Leedahl. Music, well, you can blame that on me too. Zak Cohen over at the Woodshop Recording Studio produced. This story earned a first place award in a Saskatchewan Writers Guild short manuscript competition. Are you feeling inspired to write? Sometimes it's helpful to choose a character who's nothing like us, different age, gender, situation. Here's an idea. Write down 10 different character names on scraps of paper, 5 men, 5 women. On 10 other scraps, write down 10 different occupations, and set that pile apart from the first. Your next pile of 10 will be situations. For example, a lottery win, a party invitation, a chance meeting with a compelling stranger, or a natural disaster. Turn all those scraps upside down, choose one from each of your 3 piles, and fire up the laptop. Anything can happen, and probably will. Please join me next Wednesday for Episode 3. We'll be going to fictional Jackfish, Saskatchewan, which is an amalgamation of the small towns I grew up in. There's a midnight dare involved. Maybe get a few friends together for this one. Turn the lights out and sit around a candle. The story, Spades, is sort of a classic campfire tale with a spooky vibe. The 10 stories in the Something Like Love series were made podcastable via the Canada Council for the Arts Digital Originals Grant Program. Deepest bows. How are you going to walk through this world? It's so easy to misstep.